Let's talk about operating systems now. I'm going to specifically talk about Linux. And since the upcoming topic is going to talk more about terminal-ish knowledge, like shells, editors, and sort of process stuff, I'm going to instead just talk generally about operating systems and show you how to install packages and stuff, right? That way you get the kind of feel for it. So I have an operating system running. I have an Ubuntu machine, an Ubuntu Linux machine running. I can connect to it via SSH. We'll talk more about SSH in a future video, but just know that I am connecting over a secure sort of tunnel to this instance, and I'm able to get access to its terminal interface over this SSH connection. So now I'm on this Ubuntu machine, and I'm dropped into what's called this command prompt, right? I'm not going to go too deep into the terminal stuff because that'll be in a future video, but I'm in this command prompt and the cursor's blinking and I'm like, what's going on here? Where's my point click mouse? Well, you don't have that here. As a DevOps engineer, you're going to be connecting to instances over the terminal and you're going to need to know what operating system you're running. I know this is Ubuntu, but if I was on some like Linux-y system, how do I know what distribution it is? Well, you can run commands to figure that out. Commands are just whatever you type at this terminal and you hit enter, that's what a command is. So if I type a command called like ls, this lists the files in my current directory. There are none, so it doesn't do anything. I can type who am I to see what user I am logged in as. I can type ps to see process information. I can do sort of some things here, but I have these sort of commands. If I clear the terminal. But one popular command is called cat, which allows you to sort of print the contents of a file to the screen. So if I cat out etc os-release, you'll see information about the Linux system that I'm on. This is kind of helpful. This is one of the first things I do when I'm on a foreign machine is I say like, what is this, right? Because the release or the OS that I'm on tells me things about the system. Now I know that I'm on an Ubuntu machine. I can use Ubuntu specific commands to manage the machine. What sort of commands can I do? Well, if you're a normal user, right? So for example, if I do, let me clear the screen again. If I do who am I, you'll see that I'm still the Ubuntu user. If I do ID, you'll see that I am a privileged user because my user ID is quite high. It's not 0. What I could do, the very first thing you want to do is how do I access this system as an administrator, right? I want to know like, how do I get root level access to this machine? You can do that with sudo. So you can do sudo su minus, and that'll drop you into a root shell. It might prompt you for a password. And if you're on a certain system, you might not even have access to do this, right? But generally speaking, this is how you get like root level access to the box. And now I can do whatever I want on the system, right? So I'll exit that because I don't want to do anything crazy, but I just want to show you that's how you can elevate your privileges should you need to. What if I wanted to install software on this machine? What do I do? Well, I know that I'm running an Ubuntu machine, and that means I have to use Ubuntu things. So Ubuntu's way of installing software is through what's called apt or apt-get. So I can do apt-get update to update the list of software that Ubuntu knows about, because all the software is in some sort of like artifact repository somewhere. I need to tell my Ubuntu system, hey, go refresh the metadata for those artifact repositories so that when I go install a package, I know exactly which versions and whatnot are available. So good, I refresh my knowledge. Now I can do apt-get install, and I can install whatever packages I want. If I want curl, I can install curl, right? So now I've just installed curl. And curl is a program that you can use to make HTTP requests over, from a terminal. Really more than HTTP, but, we'll just stick with HTTP for now. So for example, in a previous video, I did the api.github.com/user sudo Mateo, right? I think that's what I did. I think it was users. Boom. And remember I got this from the web browser in a previous video? I can do the same thing on the terminal. As a DevOps engineer, you're going to need to get super comfortable with your operating systems that you manage and using them from a command line, right? From a terminal. So that's how you install software. I can also here, how do I like work with the system? Say it's like in a degraded state, say it's in a bad state. How do I like understand its file structure, how to turn it on, turn it off? What do I do? Well, in the Linux machine, you have, let's do df-h. You have different file systems that form like a sort of hierarchy, right? There are no drive letters like there is on Windows. These systems have a hierarchical file path. So if I do lsblk, you can see this is the storage device that is in my system. I have one 33 gig drive that's on my system, and that drive has a couple different partitions to do various things. And the file structure starts from the root and goes all the way down to whatever file. So for example, if I ls/, that shows me what's in the root of my file system. If I do ls-l to get a long listing, you can see like, here's all of the stuff in my root location. Before, when I did cat etc os-release, this said cat the os release file within the etc directory that's in the root of the file system. So you see this sort of hierarchy file system sort of forming here. That's a pretty big thing that you need to understand about Linux machines, is that they don't use these drive letters. Everything comes under this sort of root file system architecture or hierarchy. Now, what if I wanted to like manage this machine and do something with it? Well, I can power it off. So I can do something like power off to power it down, but I'm not going to do that. But I can also do reboot to reboot it. And you'll see that it says, hey, you are not privileged to do this reboot. So I need to elevate my privileges using sudo, and now I can reboot. And now I have rebooted this machine. And since I was connected to it over the network, now I broke the connection to it because the machine is being rebooted. So if I want to reconnect to it, I can do another SSH connection. So I will ping it because I need a ping to make sure that this machine's alive. A ping is just sending a network packet and receiving one back to make sure that there's signal on the other end. Now I can reconnect to this machine, and boom, I'm back in. And you'll notice, how can I prove that I rebooted this thing? Well, I can run uptime. It says this machine has been up for 0 minutes. I can run last to see like what happened. So the machine was rebooted like just a minute or two ago. And I can do all these things. So I'm not going to get too far into the weeds here. I just want to show you that this machine is doing things, right? And actually, I think I will do one thing. I will show one thing here. I want to show you that this machine actually is something that I can serve files on and serve, content on. So I'll do sudo apt get install nginx, and we'll talk about this more in the web server video. But nginx is a web server, and it serves web pages. So I just installed the web server binary here, the nginx binary. Now I need to tell it to start. So a Linux system generally uses what's called systemd to manage its services. So here I can do sudo systemctl start nginx. So I want to start that nginx service, and now I can do status, and you see that it's running. Beautiful. What does that tell me though? Well, it tells me that the nginx is running, but like what IP address do I use to even get this? Well, I can use the IP address that I used to connect to this instance. So if I do IPA to list my IP addresses, you can see that here's one IP address, right? But I want to use this IP address that I connected via SSH because this one is accessible from my workstation. So if I go here, you'll see a welcome to nginx screen. So pretty. But like, how do I know this? I mean, obviously I have a lot of experience and I've worked with machines. I know these things, but like, how did I get here? Well, let me explain. I know that I started the nginx service, right? I know nginx is a web server. I know that it comes with the default configuration to spin up an example web server. I know, because I read the docs, I know that if I start the service for nginx, it'll create the nginx server and run it forever, right? Until it dies or whatever. So now I know that this server is running. I know its process ID number, and we'll talk about this more in process management. But how do I prove to myself that something's actually listening on this sort of 172.2.1.15 port 80, right? Because if you have no port here, that's port 80. Well, I can use a command called ss. So this is called socket statistics. And that allows me to see that, oh, there is something actually listening on port 80. So if I connect to port 80, something might respond. Now watch this. If I stop the nginx service and I look at the ports again, 80 it's gone, right? So this is how I know that nginx is the one kind of doing this. There's other ways to find out, but in this case, like this is a simple way to prove it to you all while you're watching. And now if I restart the nginx service and I do the ss again, You'll see that 80 is up. So these are sort of like, you need to be able to be comfortable going in to your Linux machines and working with them, creating files, managing it and whatnot. And we'll talk more about creating files in the shell later. But this is like the sort of basic, how do I connect? What Linux am I running on? How do I install packages? How do I run services? This is just high level Linuxy sort of getting your toes wet, right? And you can install whatever Linux you'd like. This happens to be Ubuntu running on a machine somewhere on Oxide that I connected to, but you can install it whatever flavor of Linux you want. In fact, to be a little bit more meta, the machine that I'm recording this video on is a Linux machine. It's Arch Linux. And so like if you see me going between these prompts here or these windows, this is all running on Linux. My web browser is running on Linux. My terminal right here is running on Linux, right? So if I actually exit this and now I'm back to my machine, my local machine that I'm recording this video on, and I do cat etc os-release, I'm on Arch Linux now. So if I try to do like sudo apt-get, there is no apt-get command on this machine because this is not Ubuntu anymore. This is Arch Linux. Instead, I would have to do sudo pacman to do my sort of managing software install stuff. So point I'm trying to make is start playing with these different Linux machines. Spin some up in your infrastructure provider of choice, right? Even try to install it on a machine you have lying around. Maybe you have a laptop that's old or whatever. Install Linux on that. I'm not going to show you how to do that. You can go, search and stretch those brain skills to figure out how to do that yourself. But once you do, I also have I have a video of how to install Arch. Just saying. But go do that, install Linux, play with it, poke around. That's how you get good at these things, right? I didn't just like magically understand how to use these things. I was literally at this command prompt just like this, staring at it like, what is this? What do I do? This was me. I was looking at this like, hello, help. Like, how do I do this? And this is my local machine, but you're going to have to do that. That's the only way you're going to do some lasting, real learning is to just go poke at a Linux machine and just do it yourself. Cool. See you in the next one.